Now, we previously talked about hard sparring, and this is something that just absolutely kills me, man. You got to spar hard to know what it's like to get hit. If you're not sparring hard, you're not training, all of this. Look, man, I've been in some of the top camps with the best fighters in the world, hands down. Arguello, Duran, Galindez, back in the 70s, when fighters were fighters, not the chumps that are in fighting today. When fighters were fighters, you hear me? All right, Roberto Duran, Alexis Arguello, okay, Galindez, Ramirez, all those guys. I've seen their training camps. I've held spit buckets. I've seen their sparring, and they worked with each other. Nobody went in there to knock anybody's block off, okay? Nobody. Why? Because they're $20 million fighters and you don't want to mess with that. Okay, you don't run a Ferrari in the sand and you don't beat the living daylights out of a great fighter in sparring. Why? Because if you do the numbers, you're going to spar about, in the neighborhood of about, look, 14 rounds per week, okay? 8-week camp. What does that give you? All right? About 115, give or take 110 rounds. 110 rounds to prepare for 3 rounds. Okay? So 3 rounds is a match. All right? 110 is how many? That's like 40 matches. Okay? So you fight 40 matches or 40 fights to get ready for one 3-round fight. So when you're 30-6, are you really 30-6? No. You're 400, okay, and 40. Okay? So you have to look at the amount of training volume. When you're sparring that much, you can't spar hard. You're gonna kill yourselves. I've seen people get hurt, contusions, fractions, sprains, strains, all in fighting. And for what? Missing $1 million fight. Asinine, okay? You don't have to kill each other. Too much hard sparring is at the heart of tearing up careers, all right, and hurting fighters. So work with each other, don't kill each other. This next one we already touched on too. Because there's so many disciplines in MMA, there's probably that many coaches. You may have a Muay Thai coach. You may have a boxing coach. You may have a Jiu-Jitsu coach. You may have a wrestling coach. And you may have an MMA strategy coach. All right. On top of that, you may have a separate strength and conditioning. And if you have a massage guy and a nutrition guy, you can be looking at 8 or 9 people on a team. Okay. I've been all over the country. I've seen some of the best camps, okay? Most of the camps, all right, most of the problems that I get, most of the calls that I get is this: the coaches are not talking to each other. All right, remember, ego-driven sport. If jiu-jitsu gets 2 days, striking wants 2 days, and heaven forbid if strength and conditioning has 3 days, because oh my God, then does that mean strength and conditioning is more important than jiu-jitsu and boxing? Why are you giving each one of those 2 days and strength and conditioning 3, or vice versa? It could be anything. You know, if MMA gets 3 days, well, is MMA more important than grappling when you're going to fight a grappler? You know, and it's just about all of that. If they get 2 days, I want 2 days. If they get 3 days, I want 3 days. Plus, they don't talk to each other. So you may have on the agenda a light sparring session today. Somebody walks in from out of town. It turns into a pissing contest, and it's no light sparring day. It is all out. Any tactical objective of the session is over. All right, so done. Okay, so these coaches don't talk to each other, even when they're on the same team. They don't talk to each other. One has a school in one city, the other one has a school at the city next to it, and they don't talk. They don't talk. And when they're in there 2 or 3 days a week in the main gym, they still don't talk. They don't talk about fighters. How's this guy going along? How's that guy going along? He looks overtrained. Easy up on him. Hey, Wednesday's my hard days. It may be good if Wednesday you ease off, or maybe you get him on Thursday, but take into consideration that Wednesday's a very hard day for us. So maybe you go technical and tactical on Thursday. Can you work with us like that, coach? That conversation, I have never seen it take place. I'm sure it does, but I haven't seen it. And from the emails I'm getting, it ain't taking place a whole lot. So lack of coordination among coaches in this testosterone-driven sport, okay, is at the heart of problems, all right, that end up with overtrained fighters and shortened careers. So coaches out there, please talk to each other. If not for you, it's not for your own ego, at least do it for the kids that you're training, all right? The last issue we're going to be talking about is ill-prepared or no planned, no periodized strength and conditioning program. The hottest thing we have going out there right now, and it's hot because it's marketed. Us Americans, we can market thigh cream and spinning, going fast nowhere, so we can market anything. And the marketing has been fantastic for CrossFit, and we hear CrossFit this, CrossFit that. CrossFit is not even a place to go train anymore. It's a thing to do. What'd you do? I did CrossFit. You go to 5 different CrossFits and you ask them what CrossFit is, none of them ask you the same question. None of them train with the same methodology. None of them have the same equipment, so I don't even know what it is. But nonetheless, everybody's training CrossFit. What is CrossFit? A bunch of spaghetti thrown up against the wall, okay, to see what sticks. And there's only one thing that's going to stick: injuries and overtraining, because there's no periodized program. All right? Fighters need to be prepared in a sequential manner, not only between fights, but throughout a career. General, special, and specific strength training. Okay? You need to see injuries. What are your injuries? What can you do? Oh, you can't do this? We go around that. We find some other things. Oh, you must do this to fight? Well, you can't do it today? Fine, we're not going to force you to do it today, because if not, you won't do it today, tomorrow, or the day of the fight. If you can't do this and it's necessary to fight, for example, like lifting a leg to kick, okay, fine. Let's see if you can lift the leg from a standing situation. Oh no, let's lay you down, supine, prone, hang you, put you upside down, traction you. Let's find a way where you can lift your leg, and then we'll reverse engineer, all right, that movement, and get all the spinal stiffness, the core integration that we need to make the movement possible so you can fight. Just that kind of general mentality should be something that's addressed in, and certainly applied in MMA. Thank God. And we owe it to the American wrestler, which is probably the more sophisticated wrestler in MMA. Why? Because of several reasons. Number one, they either have a 2-year or 4-year education. That doesn't make them a better person or anything like that. It just has put them through an educational process that makes them a better, logical, and sequential thinker. That's what education does. So I think generally the camps where American wrestlers train have brought this sophistication, this education with them, where they are able to listen, make sense of a situation, and then go with best possible scenarios, which is how you take a test and how you learn a topic. Also, the background that they get in wrestling, which is hard training, incredible strength, but without a lot of contusion, especially to the joints and especially to the head. So they bring this incredible base of conditioning, grit, strength, and education, and that's why they have made leaps and bounds gains, all right, on the Brazilians. Remember, the Brazilians had it early, okay, with Royce Gracie, but as soon as the American wrestler figured out how to block a triangle, a rear naked chokehold, and a guillotine, and Kimura, and things like that, it was over. Nobody could deal with them. And they ran the table with Matt Hughes, with Randy Couture, and so on and so forth. They ran the table for a good 8-10 years. Okay, now Brazilians are coming back. Why? Because they're starting to get more sophisticated with their training. They have a long way to go. I mean, we've come a long way from the Shootbox Academy, where you train 20 times in one day and whoever survived was the fighter, you know? So I think the strength and conditioning, all right, is getting a lot better, but we have an enormous influence on two things, all right? On one side, bodybuilding, which is okay, but general strength, okay, but you don't use that for fighters because it's not really functional strength for fighters. It's good general prep for fighters, but you can't rely on that to make a great fighter. Great fighters are going to be great fighters, whether you do that or give them gel to eat, you know, that's fine. And then you have the other side, the functional training, which has become CrossFit, which is a bunch of insane stuff. I don't even know how they plan it, all right? There's something more in the middle where you're able to use here, this general strength, walk a fighter through his preparation, through special strength, and then specific strength, all right? Coordinate that with the practice, and now you have yourself some cyborgs, which is what we put out here at IHP, absolute cyborgs. Because we get with the fighters, we educate the fighters. When the coaches don't cooperate with us, okay, and for those of you who are saying, what do I do? Do this. Educate your fighter. Because at the end of the day, your fighter can choose not to show up for practice. Or when they show up at practice, they can choose not to go hard. And if the testosterone pissing for distance is going on that side of the gym, they can choose to stay on this side of the gym. I'm going to give you 2 examples of kids who are very sophisticated. They kind of run their own career, and they respect their school, they respect their teachers, respect their coaches, but they're very smart, are Micah Miller and Cole Miller. Those 2 guys, all right, are extremely intelligent. They know when to go hard. They know when not to go hard. If it was up to me, they do less. But of all the fighters, I think those, Rich Atonido's another guy that's coming along, huge in how he's taking his training and getting really, really sensible with it. So these three guys are some of my favorite. Guess what they have in common? Wrestling. All right, they're Americans who wrestle. The other guys, the Brazilians, are nice guys. They work hard, but they want to work and work and work and go and go and go. So we have things to combat in strength and conditioning. The CrossFit do a little bit of everything. You have the functional training people, standing people on Bosu balls, blindfolded for balance, and that's going to be core training. Who knows what the hell that is? You have the bodybuilders that are still doing this. You have the other guys here doing Olympic weightlifting, killing the fighters through the wrist and the shoulders and all this stuff because they're hearing it from the college coaches. So you have this cluster bang, all right? And that's what I'm trying to cure. That's why I have the Institute of Human Performance. That's why I've dedicated my heart and soul to this place for 10 years, because I know that we need to do a lot of work to organize all of these great different training modalities and put them into a good system where they all can live and choose the right thing for the right person at the right time. Okay, Olympic weightlifting may be right for a person who has that type of structure, who has that type of lifting, but it would be terrible for a person who's already injured at the shoulder, wrist, and elbows, you know, and doesn't have the ability to do it. Squatting, great for some people. Some people can't do it. For example, Jeff Munson. Jeff Munson's still one of the animals. He's a modern day friggin' gladiator, and you guys know him. You know, he goes into fight, win, lose, or draw. He's a warrior. I can't do anything with Jeff. He's all banged up. Same ththing with Roddy Ferguson, 3-0. 3 stoppages in MMA. Okay? Out of the judo world, went into MMA and just banged. Okay? Roddy can't even move his arm. So you have to, there's certain things, he can't go to CrossFit, they'll kill him over there. He can't do Olympic weightlifting, they'll kill him. That's how Roddy got hurt. Okay? So you have to find a way to get around this and use Olympic weightlifting, use some of the CrossFit exercises, use some Pilates for crying out loud when it's appropriate. All right? If you want to know, all right, how we do it here, how we get around injuries, how we use all of these training tools, how we don't get emotionally attached or we don't get married to any one philosophy, because all have their strengths and weaknesses. If you want to see how we do it, I highly recommend that you come visit me here at IHP, do one of our mentorships, or even better, if you're into MMA, do the MMA certification. The MMA CSCC, Certified Strength and Conditioning Coach certification. And we're going to show you how we train the likes of Jeff Munson, Roddy Ferguson, Thiago Silva, Thiago Alves, Rich Atonado, Micah and Cole Miller, and many of the other great fighters that come through IHP. I welcome you to IHP. Come and visit me in sunny South Florida.